Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Yes and Brand Show. I'm Kathy Klotz-Guest, the founder of Keeping It Human. And you know me if you come in and out, and you've seen some of our other guests. So thank you for coming back. And as always, with a couple of days delay, you can find this on my YouTube channel. You'll find some more interviews and all kinds of stuff, goodies with really smart people. And I'm super excited today, but I'm always excited. That's just how we do it. I'm excited because we have the CEO and founder of Lately, Kate Bradley Chernis, and she's a badass. And I love this woman. Because she's real, she's got great stories, she's herself, she's just, she's a woman who's pivoted. We all have to pivot sometimes. And she is so great at sharing that story. So welcome to the Sam Brand Show, Kate.
Wow, thanks, Kathy. It's so awesome to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me. You roll.
My pleasure. And don't you love that it's two women just like having it's like we're just kicking back, having a casual conversation.
It's so casual. I mean, I'm in my gym clothes because I found that if I put them on in the morning, it's more likely that I'll actually go. So that's just what I do.
Smart. Yeah. Just add the headband and roll yourself out of bed, and
right, and then you're ready to go. Exactly. It's just one less thing I have to deal with. So.
I'm so with you. Well, and I want to kind of start with, you were in the radio business for many years, and tell us about that. Tell us how you started in radio and what that was like.
Yeah, it was really amazing, and there were some crappy parts too, but obviously it was fun. I met my husband through radio because obviously I dated rock stars because they were there, and I was kind of dumb a little bit, but job hazard. And actually my husband always teases me, so I have a huge crush on Andy Summers from The Police. He's the guitar player.
He's cute.
And my husband says thank God she likes short guitar players, because my husband is short too. But yeah, although someone made that joke that Andy Summers kind of is starting to look like Hillary Clinton, which is true. So my crush on him was the young Andy. But I did get to meet him actually not that long ago, and I was this is a segue, but I met him, and he was kind of not very nice to me, which was so fine. But I was I just need a picture with him, and so I asked him to take a picture with me, and he was still not really into it. And I had my arm around him. And I was like, what's wrong? I'm Kate. His wife is Kate. She's blonde. I'm come on, this is money. And so I said to him, you're my Keith Richards. And then he smiled, because I think then he knew that I wasn't just some tart hitting on him, So that was cool. But yeah, so radio days. Yeah, I used to be the music director for The Loft at XM Satellite Radio.
Very cool.
That was pretty cool. That was 20 million listeners that we were broadcasting to at the time. And I was in a really interesting format called AAA, which is Adult Album Alternative. So in Denver, that's it's KBCO, actually. So I don't know if you're familiar with them at all. But that's the kind of format, rock and roll, basically. And I did that up and down the Eastern Seaboard for a few years. And then when I was in radio, though, I felt really crushed, Kathy, because of course there's sexual harassment. To this day, I have an email from a very famous radio person asking me for spankings, just in case I ever need it for blackmail. Anyways, and so the sexual harassment was there, and honestly, that was annoying, but didn't bother me. What really did bother me was I felt just squashed, not listened to. I felt, you know what I mean? I felt like I was not taken seriously because I was a woman constantly. And it started manifesting physically. I had all these ailments, which I'll tell you about another time, but my body was just really screaming at me, and I wasn't listening. Wow. And so it started screaming louder and louder. So I moved to another company, another music related company, and the same stuff started happening. And I was toxic. Everything coming out of my mouth was, I hate this. I hate my job. Blah, Yeah. And so my dad, I was crying all the time. And I had this, I thought I was disappointing. I had this deep shame because I thought I was disappointing my bosses. Right.
Wow.
So it's how weird is that flipped on you, you know. But so my dad was like, he shook me by the shoulders really lovingly and was like, hey, you can't work for other people, and there's no shame in that, right? And to me, that was a huge aha, because it hadn't occurred to me that like I didn't have to work for other people.
Yeah.
You know? And I was like, oh my God. And then I was like, oh yeah, my dad had his own business and my mom had her own business. And like, yeah, people do this all the time. And then my awesome husband, my own rock star, he gave me, well, actually, first thing that somebody gave me The Secret. Remember that book, The Secret?
Yeah, I read it.
Okay, so like, that's kind of a crappy book, like, let's be honest. But the good news was it reminded me that like, oh my God, all that bad stuff was coming out of my mouth, you know? So I was like, okay, I'm not going to do this. And I even like forced myself to be like, I love my job. Oh. And I found that my friends, like I couldn't talk to my friends at work anymore, because all we did was talk about how much we hated work. And then my husband gave me Guy Kawasaki's The Art of the Start. And that said, like on page 9 or something, it said, don't make a plan, just get started. And so, this is a long answer to your question, but, and so like the next day, I swear to God, I went to a meeting with these guys who were supposed to be delivering me some music for this company I worked for. And we went and had lunch, which never really happened. And I just started like saying what my ideas were about the music industry and how I thought it should change. And they were like, we love you. Let's give you $50,000 to start this company. That we didn't know what it was yet. They just wanted to do something with me. And we did. And it turns out that they were angels, and they're like these really super awesome, nice partners. And so that was like kind of the journey. So like this big, huge journey that got me into entrepreneurship.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. I was going to ask you if you had all these sort of things happen in the music business, and then I'm thinking, well, of course you did, because you're a woman, and this stuff is everywhere, and it's kind of and it mirrors, as I'm listening, so much of my journey in tech, and one of the reasons I left tech, and like it's like where is it not? I guess is the question. And did you have that moment when you realized? And I'm with you, because like there's a point where you have so many days where you hate your job and you realize this is not the right ratio. Like I should be loving my job more than I hate it. And did you have that moment where you went, well, shit, this is what I trained for. What now? Did you have that moment of like, or were you like,
Well, it was really scary because like, we all have egos, and like I made it. I mean, I was at the best radio job you could have, right? And like I felt famous in my own world, and it was cool. It was a really cool job, no doubt about it. And I had an identity that I totally thought was my own identity, right? I thought that we were interlinked, and that if I could never leave radio, because then I'd just be Kate. I wouldn't be Radio Kate, just so bizarre. But like it was such a relief, actually. So what happened was, after I met those guys and we started our first company, it was a music taste making widget. Do you remember widgets? Like
I
online?
Do.
Yeah. And we did good. Like I was just marketing it on my own, and I had a good listenership. It was actually one new song a day paired with one old song a day, and they segued together really perfectly, because I think that's how people discover new things best, is anchored in older things. And so I tangent a lot, but like in radio, I was really lucky to self-program every station I ever worked at. So that was a great, like I was taught the true radio and like the theater of the mind and all that kind of stuff, which is super fun. So anyways, as I was marketing that widget, somebody else was like, hey, you're really good at marketing. We'll pay you like a lot more money and you don't have to listen to music anymore. And I was like, oh God, yeah, thank you, I'm done. And I was so relieved, because like I think there was a lot of bad vibes, of course, that I was still carrying around from. I mean, some bad shit happened to me, to be honest. Like, just leave it there. I sought legal help. Like, it was really, it was awful, to be super honest with you. But I wanted to be rid of that. And like, also my ears were really tired, because Kathy, I was like actively listening to music it's not like, woo, you get to listen to music. Like, you're trying to think, does this song hold up to Dylan and the Rolling Stones and all these classics? Like, can they exist in the same thing together, And so I was like, yeah, I'm done with that. And so so suddenly I had a marketing agency because someone was like hiring me to do marketing consulting, and they put me on a Walmart account. And so was lucky. And that's how this journey started. So like I already had the excitement of understanding that the stress for me of not knowing where my next paycheck was coming was like way more dealable than like the stress of working with a-holes, right? And it was pretty mega. Like I definitely discovered that I'm a wild horse. I don't like to be told what to do. I mean, who does? But like I'm especially stubborn and belligerent. Yeah. Like I know this, and I also felt ownership, like at all the jobs I worked with. And so I thought a lot about, I actually had this woman, Candace, was my favorite employer ever in radio. And she did such a good job of celebrating the people in front of her and letting them make their own mistakes and letting them kind of learn on their own in spite of themselves. Or that's how I felt about me, Yeah. And I always think of her so fondly in that way, because like she really let me become the radio person and the person that I was, just by like not being judgmental, I guess, and like letting me figure it out, which like to this day I'm like blushing thinking about it because I did some embarrassing shit and she like let me do it. But anyway, so what was I talking about? Look, I'm so bad. I'm such a spaz. So in radio, I guess I was gonna say like, oh yeah. So it was the Walmart thing. Yeah, right. So how we got there was, so I suddenly was project managing this Walmart campaign. It was like a marketing thing, and it was actually Walmart and United Way Worldwide and this tech company, and then about 20,000 of their local SMB and nonprofits. So it was like two radically different groups of marketers. And I just organized what was coming across my desk into this like insanely complicated spreadsheet. So I was like so into spreadsheets then too. I was like, my spreadsheet had like about 40 tabs.
Wow.
There was 20,000 people involved. It was just bananas. And like I dogged down everything from focus groups to social media content to table tent copy, press releases. Like I made sure it was all organized and we could all find it. And then I was tracking all of the analytics across every single one, because I wanted to know, like, was it working? It just seemed like there was this mystery all there. And so my spreadsheet system got us 130% ROI year over year, 3 years I did this. Yay. And then they rolled a template of it out, which they still use, like at least the last time I saw somebody using it, because I'm still attached to the spreadsheet, which is funny. So come up for air, Bradley. So then
self-talk.
Oh my God, like the book is gonna be so good. I'm saving it.
I can't. No, I'm waiting for the book. I think that's awesome. Did you at any point in time? I love your energy. I mean, at any point in time, did you ever go, hey, do I have the skills? Did you feel a little out of your element coming from music? Did you go, no, I know I can do the spreadsheet stuff and I'll learn what I need to know? Because a lot of times, I think sometimes we don't jump at these opportunities because we second guess ourselves, or we say, I don't know those skills yet. And we think we have to know everything before we jump. And I've always been a jump first and figure it out on the way down.
I like that about you. On the way up, you mean?
Yeah. Like if I jump over a cliff, well, there's a famous saying in improv, Del Close, who taught at Improv Olympic for many years, and he's was a famous teacher in the improv world. He used to say that improv is like, and I think he's right, jumping off a cliff and building the airplane with other people on the way down.
Oh, yeah.
Like you don't have to have all the answers. And I'm that person. But did you feel similarly, or did you have a moment of like, I don't know, can I put all the pieces together, or did you just jump? Did you fully jump at these opportunities?
Yeah, that's a good question. Like I didn't, so I was a fiction writing major. So like, I didn't have a skill set for really much. Like because suddenly I was writing a lot of radio commercials, so fiction writing helped a lot, and then marketing, it helped a lot. I think like but radio comes into play later in my life a lot. So let me talk about that in a second. But like, as far as, it doesn't occur to me that I can't do stuff until I'm in it. Like, I am actually having a very serious imposter day today, which we all have. I was almost crying about 20 minutes ago, and I was like, wait, I think I have to talk to Kathy in a little bit. I can't be crying. But like, some days I cry when I get angry and frustrated, and like I can't see the solution. But like, I think what happens is, like, and I was also younger then. I mean, I was in my 20s in radio, and then 30s. I mean, I started this only 4 years ago, and I'm 44 now, so that's kind of late to be doing something that's crazy. Yeah. Like, look at my eyes. I've been seeing this awesome esthetician to help with my eye bags, and she's doing a good job. Your eyes look so good too, by the way.
Well, thank you.
Are you using?
I moisturize in the extreme amounts of tears that night. I just moisturize, and
you're hilarious. It's important. These are the little things that like super matter to us, right?
And you have to have a sense of humor. And I love that you're so honest about the imposter syndrome, because I think every great entrepreneur has that. I have yet to meet an entrepreneur who isn't honest. If they're honest, they admit that even at their best, they have those days where they're like looking in the mirror going, do I have my shit together? No, I do not. I do not have my shit together. And it's like, I got 20 minutes to get my shit together because I got a meeting.
It's true. It's really true.
And that is, I love that because it's so honest. And I just applaud it, because that is I think the entrepreneurial journey to find. It's like, those are the real moments, right? I think the litmus test is like, you know what? I can do this, but there's always going to be these peaks and valleys, right? And it's like, totally.
It's
girl,
true.
You look good. Exciting. Keeps it totally exciting.
Yeah, like, I feel like, definitely as women entrepreneurs too, like, I mean, I put a lot of weight on my own shoulders. I'm sure you do as well.
Yes.
But people are watching, and it's like, who doesn't want to be the winner and the hero? Of course, everybody does. But I feel like women do even more. Like, also, as far as like, there's a lot of female CEOs and all that kind of stuff is going on. And I know a lot of awesome female CEOs and whatever. And I was just thinking of like, whenever I see something go up and it's a public thing about like, talking about female being a CEO and whatever, I look at whoever they are, and these women in suits, and I think that's not really me. Like, and so I also have this other weight on my shoulder, like, who's the rock and roll CEO? Like, I would like to be that person that people look up to. And so then I want myself to succeed even more, just so like someone else can be like, well, I don't have to be perfect and polished to be
real.
Like, I didn't come from money, or no one went to fancy schools. Like, I mean, I went to Skidmore. I guess that was fancy enough, but like, we're not like Ivy League crew here, like, it's the funniest thing, because all of our investors, they all are from, Harvard, Wharton, like all this kind of stuff. And it's so interesting. And then there's like, me.
Well, and that's, I love that story, because you are a rock and roll CEO. Like I was telling Kate earlier, it's like, everybody, and if you're here, let us know. And as you come in, if you have a question, let us know. And of course, people will watch this later. Kate had these awesome blue boots, and I was like, she's badass, and she's got these great boots. And what I immediately loved is that, I can be in a room, and I know who my tribe is by how comfortable they are in their own skin.
Yeah.
And I am immediately attracted to the people that are just comfortable. They're not trying to be anything they're not. And what I loved about sort of your energy right away was just, you were just laughing, like you were telling stories. People were around you going, oh my, she was telling a story about the Rolling Stones, and even Anne Hanley, Anne Hanley. And we were all like, oh my God. And we were just, I remember we were all, and I think there's an energy about somebody who's just herself. You can't be the suit CEO, because that's not who you are. But I love your willingness to embrace exactly who you are. And that's important, right? I mean, the investors want to know that they've got a CEO that is going to be who they are. And I'm not a suit person either. I was in tech. And I always felt like a little bit of a fish out of water. And I think women are always trying to put the suit on because we're held to this higher standard. And there's a point where you just go, you know what? That's not authentic for me. And if I'm going to do this right, I have to be me. That's all there is. And when the angels, you know, I mean, they're backing you because they like you,
Yeah.
Kate. And they're not looking for the suit CEO. They double down on you.
It's true.
You
Thanks
know?
for reminding me of that, because like I forget that all the time, and they even remind me that, because sometimes they'll get caught up in like all the data or whatever. And Alan Chung, who's one of our investors, actually not that long ago said, just remember that what we invested in was your gut. So you got to listen to that. And I was like, oh yeah, that is important. But and I think like the authenticity is so, I mean, I know we talk about that a lot, and we're in a few social clubs together, and like how important the human thing is. And like the best part about it is giving people, I think, the permission to like go along with you, right? You know, I'm a big believer in the warts and all thing, and like that sometimes I have to learn to be less transparent, like especially as the CEO, because like there's HR also and you know,
liability.
It's tough because like I know that being myself is the best way to get like new employees to be themselves and feel comfortable and get excited, but at the same time I'm supposed to be like someone that they admire and respect, whatever that means. And so like sometimes I don't know how to behave, like as we hire more people, for example. Like even recently I was like, oh my God, I think we have to like have some kind of thing people sign where they don't tell our secrets.
Yeah, you do.
We need these things, you know, we're getting.
You do. As you grow, you have to have policies in place, and that makes total sense. And you're in transition because you're growing and you're doing your job well. So it's growing, and you have to sort of get sewn up. But what I love about what you just said was, man, you know, I talk to a lot of executives, and I know you do too, and they're not themselves, and they're always. And I'm thinking, and I say to them, and we have these amazing conversations like I am with you. And I think and I so applaud your honesty, because, man, if you can't be comfortable and bring your whole self to work who you are, how do you expect your team to do that? Like, that is like, I think your biggest job. And if you are not comfortable in that, your team picks up on that. They know. And the number one thing that, people are telling me when I talk to executives is teams are desperate and hungry for psychological safety. They're not going to take risks at work if they don't feel safe. And that really is your job, is to make them feel like, hey, you know what? We don't want to screw up, but if you did, because you tried really hard, this is a safe place to experiment. And like they're looking to look at you and how you behave to see if you're in sync and you're in alignment on what you say and do.
Sure.
You know? Yeah,
that's fascinating. Yeah, it's an interesting line to walk. I mean, we talked a lot about, and this is getting off a little bit, but like, you know, especially with the Me Too movement, obviously we want everybody to feel safe, but like totally separately, like it's also important to not scrub out what makes, you know, work interesting, or like, you know, senses of humor, or like telling somebody that they look beautiful, like, you know, it shouldn't be something you should be able to do that, and everyone should feel comfortable about it, or whatever. And like how to make sure that there's still humanness inside work interaction, because people do fall in love at work. It does happen, you know. It can't just be like, oh, that's always bad. So like it'll be interesting to see like when we come out of this a little bit, you know, what's the line, how will we develop a new way of communicating with each other that still lets people be themselves, obviously without infringing on anybody's comfort and safety. But I'm interested in that. I'm very interested in this is back to the radio conversation. So like one of the things that I love about that theater of the mind and radio is because I was lucky enough to be in that kind of format where being human was all part of this journey, where you are trusting me, right? Like you don't know me, I've got the microphone, but there's still this two-way kind of dialogue where I'm taking you on a journey and trusting me to do so. And why do you trust me? Like maybe it's the music I pick, possibly, but I think it's a lot about the presentation, right? So we used to make mistakes on purpose, especially when we were recording our shows, so that we would sound human. Or Steve Zinn, who was one of my radio mentors, he taught me about the power of silence and leaving a pause in radio and anywhere, because it's the time when people really listen. They turn up the volume. And then I used to so my radio voice is a little bit different than my normal voice. And I used to play with it and try to figure out how can I be less sexy. So I used to try to crack it a little so that it wouldn't repel, women or whatever. And then I think about how do I translate this stuff into the hi Bryan Kramer. How do I? He's so awesome. Did you see that article about him today where he's in the top 10 with Guy Kawasaki, Seth Godin, who else is in there? It was all the mega money marketers and then Bryan Kramer. And I was like, oh my God.
Brian, congrats, Brian.
Yeah, that was pretty great. So I think about how do we use these lessons from lately for radio and lately. So we're communicating obviously with our customers. We have our marketing, right? And that voice it's my voice. It's a persona, of course, but we actively in the beginning said we're going to try to avoid marketing jargon like KPIs and saying goals, for example. And we're going to be vernacular in how we talk to our customers and how we market ourselves, and that space, what's the visual space that we're leaving you, or how are we working with our customers to just let them know that we're also marketers, right? And that we can collaborate on this thing together. I think of lately as very much of a collaboration. I feel at 1,000%. In fact, I'm tangenting, but I need to write a mission statement today. I know it's I'm just making it out. I know it's or I used to poo-poo the mission statement, right? Because I work at a bunch of corporations and they show you their mission and you're like, wow, what is that? It sounds silly. But I was reading some Harvard Business School article not that long ago, and it was talking about how one company, when they wrote their mission, it actually changed their sales process because they realized that everything they were doing wasn't actually upholding what they thought the company should be. And so one of the things that I really believe in is that collaboration between us and the customers. And I know that sounds kind of corny, but we're doing it. Every day our customers tell us something they would like improved, and my team is amazing and they turn it around. And we take a huge role in active listening. We have a lot of spreadsheets actually around customer feedback and all that stuff. And Bryan Kramer is the epitome of the human who we were just talking about, of this human to human interaction, and how companies can the advice is to do a better job of kind of leveraging that and leveraging the mistakes, right? That's the deal. And that's hard. Actually, Bryan does advise me to let go of that a little bit, because sometimes even in marketing, I want to polish every little,
you can't.
You can't.
And so much of the human greatness is in the mistakes, it's in the, all that stuff. And that's where the good stuff is. And if you're saying to your team, we have to learn from mistakes, you have to be willing to do that and admit that you make mistakes. And that's what companies have to do. And one of the reasons why, I love what we're talking about so much, and why I called it Yes and Brand, is because it comes from the world that I live in, of improv, where you do embrace failure, you do make mistakes, but you learn, you grow, you iterate, and you do it better. But that's the humanity. That's where the humanity is.
Right.
And I don't know of a brand that is perfect, and nobody expects you to be perfect. And if we're aiming for perfection, we're not trying hard enough. And if you're experimenting, you're going to make mistakes, but experimenting is also where you hit on the great stuff.
It's true.
I think companies as a rule are so hung up on getting it right, but that being right is not doing right by your customers. They're two different things. And I see that get in the way of so much greatness and innovation, because they're afraid to fail. And you know what? Some failures are bigger than others. Some are recoverable, some are not. But you've got to, if you're not teaching your people to take the small risks, how are you ever going to stumble and iterate on things that are great? And I think that's the thing that that I love about your willingness to be open about this stuff, because it, you know, we all have to allow ourselves that space to fail, try, grow, learn, all that stuff.
Yeah, it's definitely hard to keep it going and to know what to let go of. I mean, I think I'm very grateful that my team does a good job of reminding each other. So there's a tech kind of adage or proverb, which is like, if you're not embarrassed about it, you've waited too long to release it, or you worked too hard on it. Which is, fail fast enough, and exactly, BK. And that's it. It's kind of crazy because you want so badly, like I said, I want so badly to be the hero and to be the success and to make this thing work. And you can see, all of us can see what's working and what's not on a regular basis. And we're just trying to put together the patterns so that it works enough, and that we can keep learning and iterating and be nimble and all those things. And as we grow, it's even harder to be so nimble, because then there's more pieces in the project, and then there's more people and all that. Mm-hmm. And for me too, it's really hard to back away sometimes. That's why I love the summer, because I love painting my house inside, and I'm constantly painting because I just find it super zen, and I actually forget about everything for those 2 hours that I'm doing it. And so I just started painting my guest room last weekend instead of working, and the sanity that I get from being able to then go into work on Sunday night instead, was just so much more powerful, because I had a clearer mind and all those kinds of things. And it's hard. It's more than a vacation. It's just more of a kind of a lifestyle. How do I just trying to get that perspective so I can go in and see the mistakes and then fix them. And on that note, by the way, so we just actually have been doing our first official hiring process, which has been a big deal for us. There's all kinds of logistics you think of, you write the job description, and then I wonder, is this legal? Can you say can you not? I wanted to say women welcome. That's what I wanted to say. But someone was like, you can't say that. And I was like, what? Can I not say, I don't know. And so one of the things that I did wrote was that basically I said, if we expect everyone who works here to tell us what's wrong, because we do. Yeah. Anyone who isn't gonna be able to just have the guts to say that, but also have the guts to say loudly, because you can tell, Kathy, I like the sound of my own voice, and I'm also the boss and bossy. And so if you want to tell me something, you got to push.
You got to push. Yeah. Well, no, you have to be. And we're both women that, have a lot to say and a lot of great ideas. And we both came from these industries that were not always open to that. So, to keep up with us, you got to jump in. And I love that. It's really fascinating, just sort of on that note that you touched on it. I hate job descriptions. I think most job descriptions suck. And it's interesting. And I have a philosophy about it. And I was sort of validated. I was at a conference, and they were talking about unconscious bias, and you know it, and I know it. And and they were talking about how AI has been applied to reveal unconscious bias in hiring, and in the way job descriptions have been written. And here's the interesting part about it, is that men will respond more to solo things like ninja, warrior, and they will, whereas women will not apply for those because they feel like those are aggressive, and women are more likely to respond to job descriptions that are like teamwork, team-based, team, collaboration, whereas it was very split against, along gender lines, which I think is really important for people to know. If you're hiring and you want to attract more women, you really got to rethink the way that you are writing the job descriptions, because especially in tech, where women have not been in certain positions, we are automatically filtering out people from even applying.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's really fascinating, the science behind it. It's absolutely fascinating. There is a psychological mentality along gender, and it makes so much sense, because with the way women are wired to look for teamwork and collaboration, and the way it's just is what it is. And so if I had my way, I would rip up most job descriptions and I would just completely do something completely different.
Well, I should give you mine because I wrote it. So like I wrote it to be entertaining because like I'm a marketer, and I was like, yeah, go ninjas. I was like, I got to make this thing stand out. It occurred to me that I got to get people to want to work for me. So I thought it was really well written, and we got some compliments on it, so that was pretty good.
Well, cool.
So, yeah. I want to know what you think.
No, I definitely shoot it all along, and I'd love to see it. But I love. Thanks for everybody for joining us. Hola, Manuel. Good to see you, and Bryan's here. And I'm just loving what we're talking about, and folks who are just joining us, thank you so much for hopping on. Kate's been telling us all about her journey and these keeping it human moments and yes and moments, and of course, yes and is the cornerstone of improv, which is the central tenet of my faith, of my improv religion.
Amen.
Amen. Amen. And of course, 20 some years on doing stage work as well as coming from tech, but doing improv and seeing the way that it can be applied. And I really believe we all have these pivot moments where we're not sure and there's no script for uncertainty. And we have to just know in that moment that something feels right. And we have to yes and our gut, and we have to yes and ourselves. And you've yes anded. I love your journey because we're all faced with these pivot points, right? Each one of us. And you have to lean into and steer into the uncertainty and double down on yourself. And these are the moments that define us. I mean, and you've had some really interesting trajectories along the way, which I think we all do.
It's hard because like of course they feel so big, right? The decisions feel huge. And now you look back when you were a kid, like the decisions you thought were enormous just seemed kind of silly. And I'm sure, or I hope like when I'm older, I will see the same thing now. But like, I do feel like, especially with the company, there's a decision in front of me right now that is pretty major on like how we sell the company to customers, like, and what kind of that looks like going forward. Do we go long tail? Do we keep like looking for, a whole swath of customers, or do we go up market, right? That's kind of a decision that lots of companies make because one is quicker to money and one is usually slower. And I've been thinking a lot about that and like, what kind of CEO do I want to be what kind of company do I want to be the CEO of? Like, what kind of people do I want to work with? And what kind of people do I want to help, And so I'm just trying to think a lot about that because there's also the health of the company that I have to think about. And I have these investors who have concerns and needs and all these kinds of things. And like, I want to make the right decision, but it's also like, it just feels so alone. I feel super duper alone. This is why I have like the imposter scenario today. Like I might even cry. Like today, I feel like I don't know what I'm doing. Like it is what it is, and I don't always know what I mean. Bryan Kramer actually always says, like as you were alluding to earlier, we build the plane as we fly it, that is really the fun part. And I like the not knowing when I have a team of people who don't know with me, but I know that we're all so smart that we'll figure it out together. Like there's a lot of comfort in that for me. Like it's fun, but then like once in a while, it feels like actually nobody knows anything, and I'm supposed to, and I also don't, and like. You can't admit that you're not supposed to admit it to your team because then I'm sure they feel leaderless. But I'm doing it on this video. But like, you're not supposed to tell your investors because then you're like, why would they want to invest in you, right? Because you're supposed to be confident and know what you're doing all the time. But like, I don't. Like, I know Mother's Day is this weekend and I'm going to go see my mom on Saturday. And I really need to see my mom.
Yeah.
Need someone to be like, you're awesome. Everything you do is awesome. Like I really need that right now.
Yeah, you are awesome, and I'm loving your honesty because we don't always. No. Listen, don't ever apologize for honesty and humanity. That's the beautiful thing, and I'm so identifying with you, and I think people will identify with your honesty because it's real. And look, nobody has all the answers. We don't always know what we're doing. I think. Improv is building the plane on the way down with other people, knowing that you can plan all you want and still get the plan wrong or the plan isn't perfect. And, if I waited to do things in my life till I was ready, I wouldn't have started my own company in 2010. I started Keeping It Human in 2010. I would not have started in stand-up comedy, and I would not have survived being sometimes the only woman in a group of like 14, 15 guys. I would not have 20 years later started teaching improv to companies. I would not have done I wouldn't have had, been a mom if I had waited till I was ready.
Yeah, right.
And
what is that? What does the wait until you're ready look like?
You never know. And I think the beauty about what I think improv is to me, and why I love it so much and why I believe in it so much and I'm so passionate about it is because, it's not just about being funny. It's about letting go and realizing, A, you don't have to have all the answers. B, if you surround yourself with great people who collaborate with you, you don't have to have all the answers because great people will help you. They'll give you ideas. And when you say to your team, hey, I don't have all the answers, but I'm going to hear you out and listen to you, but let's do this together. There's something in that increases everybody's emotional investment because they are collaborating with you.
It's true.
That's the essence of improv. That's how we are able to go out and with just a suggestion and not a script, go do a 30-minute completely improvised on the spot play. And this is why I love it so much, is because I'm letting go and saying, I don't have to know everything, but if I listen to everybody, I can build something great with other people together. And that's really, I think, just, the humanity of admitting we don't have to have all the answers. We don't know all the answers. I think that's a really important thing. And Bryan's agreeing. Bryan's going, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, you'd be a real jerk, and I would be a real jerk. I'd be a total a-hole if it was like, I'd be such an a-hole if I went, you know what? I have all the answers. Shut up. I don't want to hear from any of you. Shut up. I'm going to tell you how it's going to be. I mean, that's an a-hole leader. I think
it's so funny.
Did
you read?
There's
a book called A-Holes that my friend gave me, who's not saying it, and so I started reading it, and it's talking about the different kinds of them in the world, and I read to page 5 and I texted him, I'm like, clearly I'm an a-hole, and he's like, I got to page 2 and discovered the same thing.
I'm an a-hole, and I'm mostly an accidental a-hole, and everybody, accidental a-holery happens. We're all accidental assholes.
It was like, if you cut lines, you're an a-hole, and I'm like, I do sometimes.
But you know what? But I've also learned that sometimes you're an a-hole to people who want to run over you and you've had to stand up against. And if in their mind you're an a-hole, you've probably done something right.
Right.
It's true. And if you're an a-hole to a lot of people, then maybe there's some self-examination that has to go into that. You might want to take some responsibility for your assholery, but the reality is that
you're funny.
You have to own it. You have to own it. And I think, I came from tech, and my journey was working for people who believed in this old way of leadership, which I think is dead, which is to never admit mistakes, never to say I'm sorry, to run over people. That's not leadership to me. That's dictatorship. And that's not leadership. And I think a great leader says, hey, I don't know all the answers, but I know that I have a great team around me, and together we're going to come to some great decisions because I'm going to listen to you. That vulnerability is that's great leadership to me. And
Can you be my personal coach?
Of course. I will call you. I'll call you and I'll be like, Kate, you look so beautiful today. Beautiful. It's so great. Yeah. Well, it's humanity. And also too, the message that I want, as a mom for, I want my son to know that he doesn't have to be perfect, and his humanity is wrapped up in just trying his best and being human. And that's all it is, right?
Yeah, for sure. I find with the whole female thing, like that particular conversation, like not being perfect. Hey, Linda, is so a lot of times when I do a public speaking event, this wonderful thing happens, and it's also a little weird, or not weird, but surprising, which is some women will come up to me and say the words, "I want to be you," which is
it's weird.
Crazy. I get that. Yeah. It's so amazing, and it's propelled because I've asked about it. I was like, "What?" It's propelled by the authenticity that we're talking about. This happened a few times, but the time I was the most surprised is I got asked to speak at a JP Morgan national panel that was being telecasted, all these things with Microsoft, which was so nice. And like, of course, I didn't think, this is back to the cowboy boots, Kathy. So like, I show up at JP Morgan Chase in the city, you know, that wonderful building, in my boots and my jeans and a sleeveless shirt, you know. And I got into the door and everyone's wearing really super nice bank suits. Like, it's not just regular work day, you know. And all of a sudden I was like, oh, I've made a glaring mistake. And what would my mother say? Like, that's what was going on through my mind. I was like, oh my God. And I saw, and my hotel was not far away, but I saw my host and I was like, should I go home and change? She's like, no, you're fine. And I was the only person dressed like this. And so here we were on the panel and we were talking about this. And a young woman actually, like, was just asking about, she was asking, how do you help other women be themselves in business, you know? And one thing I said was, I know how to be the mean girl. Like, we all kind of know how to do that, right? But when you're in a position of leadership, or you're, you know, a way to show other people the path, it's your duty to turn on that grace knob, and escort the other people in, right? And so I always feel that about, like, the prettiest girl in the room, she has this job, right? Because you know how all the other girls are like comparing themselves to her. So she could be the bitch and be like, I'm the prettiest, screw you. Or she can be like, oh my God, your eyes are so gorgeous. You know what I mean? She can, like, welcome other people in. And so I think, like, that's what you have to do, is you just have to literally actually lift them up and move them along, because it doesn't occur to women, not everybody, of course, but like, to build the plane as they fly, to be authentic or whatever, or anyone, some people, just because no one has ever done it for them before, right? Like, it might be obvious to me and you because we've had those experiences. Somebody showed us that path, but someone else is like, oh, I can do that. Oh, you know, like my dad showed me that I could work for other people.
Yeah. Yes, that's really interesting. And I'd love to talk to you on another show. I would love to explore that a little bit more, because it's really fascinating to me. And I think it does happen for women. I'm sure it happens for men too. We all have imposter syndrome that rears its ugly head once in a while. It does happen for women a lot. And especially given when you come out of worlds, as you and I both did, where like tech and music, where it is very male dominated. And I was always a fish out of water. People forget. I got 3 graduate degrees from Stanford and Berkeley.
Amazing.
I also have 20 years doing stage comedy. I'm blonde. I'm 5'3". I'm about 110 pounds. I'm not saying that to like, so you go, yeah.
Cool.
No, I'm saying I never fit in. And I think for me, after 15 years in tech, when I left to start my company, it was always a precarious navigation. I always felt like my life's a comedy because I was always a fish out of water. Like I just never felt like I was always the Muppet. It's like, here's the board meeting, and then there's Kathy, who intellectually belonged, but personality wise, I was like, really, we want to do that? Let's talk about something else. And I always felt that way. So it felt very natural for me when I started my own business and I gave myself permission to just be me. It felt very natural, and it felt. I healed the fragmentation. I was so fragmented in these two worlds. Yeah. Because in tech, it was like, well, you can't be a funny woman. And I was like, but I am a funny woman. And it's the same funny woman that has 3 graduate degrees from Stanford and Berkeley that you hired for my brain. So I'm a package deal, bitches. Yeah. Deal with it. And like, I felt so fragmented. And I felt like when I started my company, and I so relate to what you're saying, it healed so much for me. I can't even tell you. Like, I finally could be me, and I had permission to be me, and I didn't have to justify it. And if you don't like me, that's cool. That's okay.
Right. Yeah.
And what I found is that the world opens up when you are more yourself. You're so right. And it's funny, I'll speak and women will come up to me and say the same thing. And I'm always like, really? Because I'm a Muppet. Like like Ancestry.com, I'm pretty sure I am related to Animal. Animal is I think that's my dad. We all know that was probably the DNA was Animal. But it may, and I always feel that way. But I think what people do respond is they see somebody who, even though when we don't see our strengths, they see somebody who's so comfortable in her own skin, even when I'm totally goofy. But to them, they're going, wow, how did you get there? And you're so right. And it's a journey. For me, it was a total journey. But now that we are there and we're still working on it, we can help, to your point, lift these other women up. And I think that's so powerful.
Yeah.
You know, I'm living proof. You're living proof that we can bring these things together.
Because someone did it for us, right? Like, I'm assuming someone helped you, and
You know, I never actually, to be honest, I never had a lot of women support me. I had more men support me. And I think the reason for that is women were so hard on themselves. Women were giving themselves these messages that they couldn't do it. So the people, in fact, women were always telling me, Kathy, don't be funny at work. People won't like it. And I was like, well, why can't I be? That's who I am. And what I found was more men were supportive, but it's because I recognized, I had to step back and realize that the women in the world that I was in, Kate, had gotten all the same bullshit messages, and they were fighting their own battle in here. So they weren't in a healthy place to lift me up because they couldn't lift themselves up. So I didn't take it personally, but I feel like I'm just grateful that I left. And
I secretly wish you were still in the tech world.
You know, I don't know that I could, because like I'm the person that if I went back to tech,
Bryan Kramer's Kermit.
Bryan's Kermit, and he's wonderful. And Bryan, I'm so glad you're here. I think if I went back to tech, Kate, I don't have the patience. Like, if I saw all the stuff that goes on, I'd be like, this is some bullshit, and I'm going to bang your heads, and you're all going to go to your timeout corners because I'm a mom, and y'all got mommed, and you got 5 minutes, and I'm not putting up with this anymore because I'll turn this entire company around, mister. I swear to God, I'll do it.
I still wish you were in tech because I really wish you were on my team. I like you.
I'm always on your team. I am in your corner. I am in your corner.
I hope we get to be in person again. By the way, I'm Bert if I have to pick a Muppet. So
Bert.
Bert. Everybody listening should tell us what your Muppet is.
Please, that's a great idea. Please let us know. I'm animal. Because I have that is me. That's just me. And like, I eat drums when I should beat drums. That's what I do.
That's so funny. You're hilarious. Yeah, we definitely have to like look down the conferences and see what we can do in the future. Because I'd like to hug you, but it's hard to do from here. So.
Aw, I'm gonna give you a hug because your honesty is so refreshing, and I love it. And we all have imposter syndrome, and we're all Muppets. I think we're all Muppets. You know,
I don't think we're all Bert.
No, we're not all Bert. But I also have another alter ego. Remember Jack the dentist on the Island of Misfit Toys in that Christmas special? And he was like, remember he was there was a Christmas special where he was an elf and he was supposed to be making toys, but he was like, I just want to be a dentist. I don't want to make toys. I'm not. You know what I want to do? I want to examine the teeth in the toys. I don't want to be. And
that was his jam.
That was his jam, and people were like, "No, you're an elf," and he was like, "But I'm not. I'm really a dentist. I don't want to be an elf." And I was like, "Oh my God, that is so." I am on the Island of Misfit Toys, and that's where I live, and that's
a bumper sticker right there. I'm on the Island of Misfit Toys. I know how that feels. Yeah, it's amazing. Like, it's so funny to be like the leader and then the one that needs to be leaded. I find like and I'm sure now you too, like I have the people I call when I need and for different things, for different kinds of support. Like there's definitely like my mom who I know is going to just tell me I'm awesome. There's other people that I call who's actually going to diagnose the problem for me and kind of give me a little kick in the ass, you know, at the same time. And there's other people who will just make me laugh, which is my trainer, Fred, actually is that person. And I try to go every day, and I tell him always to charge me double because like literally I just laugh through the weight training for half an hour. And yeah, it's amazing. I come back to work like a much nicer person.
Amen.
Super important. Yeah, but thank you so much. I'm so glad I know you. Like this is really fun.
I'm honored to know you. Before we sort of wrap up, what's the biggest lesson you've learned? You've just had an incredible journey. And I believe there's so much grace in sharing that journey and being open, which you've done today. And I'm so honored to talk to you because I think when you share your journey and you're just honest about the ups and downs, Facebook, everybody wants to go, look at me, life is perfect. No, it's not. What's been the biggest lesson that you would share with people? What's been the big aha for you? The biggest aha?
I think it's very silly, but it's listen to your gut. Like, especially women, we have a very in tune set of instincts built into us, and most of the women I know don't listen to themselves.
Yeah,
I am terrible at it. Like I said, my body was screaming. Like I have really bad physical stuff, but I've gotten way better at it. And so like now, one tinge of pain, actually, it's like all my alarms go off, and I'm like, something needs to change. Or if I'm not sleeping a bunch at night, like I know something is internally wrong, and I have to really examine it. And like here I am today having imposter syndrome and almost crying a couple times. I'm like, okay, what's going on? And I need to sit down and just really think, like, because chances are that you've already said the answer out. You've already said it to somebody, or it's right in front of you. Yeah. I find. And so I think I wish someone had given me that advice, and I wish I had listened to it sooner in my life.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And what's one thing that you hope to accomplish in the next year? What's one big thing? And I don't necessarily mean business related, or it could be. What's one big thing that you want to do to change your world?
Oh, there's so many things. Like the first thing I thought of was just like make it so that my husband can play guitar all the time and not work. I also want to retire in 5 years. That would be my dream, but I don't know. That's not really practical. But I think like my biggest goal is I'm sculpting this thing. Lately, I feel like, hi, Adam.
So Adam's awesome. We love you, Adam.
My friend Steve Wood, who's a famous sculptor, actually just said, he's like, I think of lately as this thing you're sculpting, is this work of art. And I liked that because I thought of that too. I think of that as well. Like, it's not just a company for me. I confessed to someone recently, I actually don't love marketing. I love organizing. Sorry. And so I get a smug pride when things are organized and nice and neat, right? And I get that smug pride when other people are organized and I've helped them get there. And so I want the world to feel that smugness. It's like the Martha Stewartness about being organized, I feel like, is a contagious thing. Everybody wants it, right? That's why she's done so well, right? And that pride feels so good when you've cleaned out your entire closet and you've dumped everything at Goodwill or whatever it is, kind of thing. So that's my life mission.
Yeah.
Is that weird?
No, it's not. It's not at all. And I say dream big. I mean, if that's what, dream big, girl. Whatever that is for you, let your husband play guitar, My husband gets excited when every time I get a new client or something bigger comes along. He's like, that's my sugar mama. That's my sugar mama.
Yeah, I want to be a sugar mama. I do. Yeah.
I think that's really my goal, is to be the best sugar mama. I want to tell.
That's awesome. You're so awesome, Kathy. Thank you. I love you.
Well, I love you back. And before we let you go, and Kate, you have just been fantastic. And I really thank you for your refreshing honesty. And I knew talking to you would just be so much fun because you just have that amazing ability to just be as real in every context, which I love. And that's who you are. And what you see is what you get with you. And I really love that. And we're going to have to talk. We're going to have to talk more because, I've got, I can't announce it now, but I have a book and I'm this close to getting a publisher for it for treatment aids, and it has to do with women. So we'll talk more, and I'll make the announcement soon. But yes, we'll talk more about that. But Kate, where can people stay in touch with you? Because you're a very busy woman. You run lately, and where can people find you?
Thank you for asking. Of course, our company is at trylately.com, but all of our social spaces are Try Lately as well. So it's TRYLATELY. And that's at Twitter, Facebook, Insta, everywhere. And Adam is making me blush right now with that wonderful compliment. So thank you, Adam. But I love to talk to the people who are here today and the people who are joining later. So feel free to hit me up at those places, trylately.com or at trylately. And I think authentic stories would be something I'd like to hear more about. So other people's journeys about to authenticity, or ways that authenticity has like moved you forward or paid off for you in life.
Absolutely. And we all benefit when we all share. And,
hopefully we laugh at the least. Like
we laugh. Well, I'll just say this, so just recently I was asked to speak at an event, and I gave my topic and I used the word bullshit, and they were hung up on me using the word bullshit. And I said, have you met me? Yeah, you invited me to speak.
Yeah,
pretty much.
That's so funny.
What you get. And I was so hung up on the word bullshit. And I'll tell you why it mattered to me. It may seem like a small thing, but here's the thing. Women are told what to think. We're told, you can't say that. You can't do this. And I'm done with it. And if I'm going to be credible and go out there and say, women, you need to be who you're going to be in the world, and you're already censoring me, and yet you invited me because of who I am, and you liked my voice. So you invited me to speak because you liked my voice. Now you're telling me not to use my voice.
All right.
And I said, that doesn't make any sense. And that goes against the message that I want women to have. So either you let me use the word bullshit, or I don't speak. So a week went by, I finally retracted it and said, we're going to let you use the word bullshit. And I said, good, because even if I told you I wasn't going to do it, I would get up there and I would do it.
That's amazing. That's so funny.
So you got to be you in the world. But thank you so much.
I relate, because you notice I have not used the F-bomb here today, and that was trying for me.
No. She was on it. You were great. And if you had, it would have been okay. I'm not here to censor anybody. I really just want the real story. I really want the real you when people come and talk to me. Thank you so much for showing up and being yourself. And people, please connect with Kate. Spread this around. If you love what you saw here today, go ahead and share it. Also, every Friday, I do a Keeping It Human kind of Yes and Brand show. The Yes and Brand show is all about saying yes to these moments. And that's really what this is about, is real stories, real people. If you got ideas and who you want me to talk to, let me know. We would love to hear that. And so, Kate, have a wonderful weekend and say hi to your mom.
Thanks for letting me be human with you. I will. Love you so much.
You. And let us know, everybody, in the comments. I forgot. Please, Kate and I want to know what Muppet is your spirit animal. Who are you? If you were a Muppet, what would you be?
Spirit Muppet. Yeah, please do.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.